Hey everybody, and welcome to another remote episode of Frameforge. On this episode, I am very, very happy to have a guest on. Welcome so much, Evan Draper.
Hi, great to be here.
It is a pleasure to have you. What we're going to be talking about today is the challenges and the process of making a short film. And you in particular have a very unique circumstance because this is, and I mean a lot of people are doing this because a lot of other people are in film school. So you are in the process of doing post-production on your thesis film for film school.
Yep.
It is, I've seen it, it really hit home for me because this is a topic that is personal to me as well, but the short film in itself, I think, does a lot of really amazing creative stuff, and you executed it really well, in my opinion, with match cuts and other stuff like that.
Thanks.
I wanted to talk to you about that process, but also the post-production and where it's going right now during this trying time where some people's senior years are going a little rough, how you're trying to pick that up and work with it.
Yeah. The film's called Where is Love? And it's about Franklin, an aging man who's coping with dementia. And it's sort of about his relationship with his daughter as she is experiencing his decline in her own way and trying to help him move out to an assisted living facility so that he's not putting himself in danger. And it's sort of about him realizing that he needs to make sacrifices as she has for him.
And I mean, that's a pretty heavy topic. And so, what was the inspiration for the story?
It's sort of inspired by my grandmother who suffered from dementia as she was in her final years. And it's inspired by the way that my mother and her siblings took care of her as she was declining and eventually until she passed. My mother made a lot of sacrifices as her mother was declining. She lived with us for a while. Eventually, she was moved to assisted living and her siblings would check on her, but it definitely affected our whole family, and it left a lasting impression on me. Just the care that my mother would give her mom as she was experiencing that. And so that sacrifice and care was a big factor in how I wanted to tell this story and how I wanted their relationship to be.
The way that you portrayed, what was the lead's name?
Franklin. His name's Franklin.
Franklin, the way that he's portrayed really put me in the shoes of the people that are being taken care of in a way. And it's hard to kind of do that, to think of how the other person might be feeling when you're trying to take care of them. And it was really powerful.
So what we did in the film, basically what are flashbacks, but they're told in a way that keeps you in the moment. So the flashbacks happen around our character and he experiences his memories as he is now and in his old age. So we see him with the younger members of his family in his past, like his wife and a younger version of his daughter, but he is the same age. And we see the world shift around him in real time. And so a lot of that is what helped it sort of become this subjective, almost like experience of the story and how he lives.
On that note, like when it comes to creating that effect, the effect of the past and the present kind of merging and being this fluid thing that the main character is experiencing, I'm curious from your perspective, what was probably the most complicated shot or complicated scene that you did, and how do you make it work?
So there's a scene where Franklin and the young version of Vanessa and the mother, Maria, Franklin's wife, are in Vanessa's bedroom. And the scene shifts from a night scene to like a midday, like sun beaming in through the windows. It makes that transition in one shot. And so what we had to do was we had a dolly set up and we were pushing in while zooming out. As we pushed in, we had someone on a nucleus, like a focus pulling wireless unit, and they were controlling the zoom of the camera instead of the focus.
Oh.
And so they were pulling zoom really slowly as we slowly dollied in. So we were zooming out. So it was sort of like a dolly zoom, vertigo effect. So we saw more of the scene as we pushed in. So we got this really interesting effect. But on top of that, we had our entire G&E department outside where we had blacked out the room using only flags. We had them pulling the flags as that happened. So really slowly, we had them pull the flags out, let in some of that ambient light while we had an 800 HMI blasting through the window and providing that hard light that we really needed to sell that it was daytime.
Wow.
I think what really tied that together is throughout the film we have color transitions as well. That happens in films like Greta Gerwig's adaptation of Little Women does that a lot. It'll cut to a warm LUT in the past and it'll be very cool in the present, in sort of the bleaker, like more sad present times. They have a much cooler look. And so we did that with our film as well. So during that shot, it goes from this very warm, like nighttime ambience to very cool daytime ambience. And that light coming in is very like cool on the walls.
That is great. See, that's crazy because I honestly don't remember any dolly zoom or Zolly or vertigo shot. And that's crazy to me because that shot is always, to me, it stands out so much. Because it is so cool and interesting, and usually directors like draw attention to it, but that was so subtle that I legitimately didn't notice it, and it didn't like detract from the scene. It felt like a transition from one period to another. That's really amazing. That's great.
I think the transition is like 15 to 20 seconds long, and I kept asking my DP Mike, I was like, should we make this a little faster? And he's like, no, absolutely not. He was very adamant about keeping it super slow. A lot of the pacing throughout the film is pretty slow, and I think it pays off because it feels very thoughtful. It helped, especially that moment, it helped it be very impactful and powerful.
And especially the fact that like it does flow between the two time periods, that you're always kind of waiting and wondering when that's going to happen. So even though it does have that slow pace, you're always thinking about it. It's always in the back of your mind when that's going to happen next. And it's really great. And on that same note with the lighting and your director of photography and stuff like that, since this is a student film and a lot of people don't have this access to the same resources that students do at a film school like you go to, what do you think were the best resources you had access to, or how do you think that the resources you were given as a film student benefited you more than if you were doing this on your own?
That's a good question. I've been thinking a lot about the gear we have and the opportunities we're given and how that is going to go away. And especially right now with everything that's going on, a lot of people don't have access to that kind of stuff. We're very lucky in that at Ringling College of Art and Design, we're given a lot of resources that most undergraduate programs don't get. As an indie production, we have two production types this year. It was something they introduced so that more people could tell their stories and shoot their movies. There's the indie films, which is what our production was an example of, and there's the studio films, which are bigger budgets. They actually get a lot of money from the school, like up in the thousands.
Good for them.
They get access to whatever camera really they want. Like I was the DP of a studio film we shot on the Alexa Mini.
Which was the way.
super, super cool. It's a great camera. It was really beautiful stuff. I was very happy about that.
Which we destroyed in one of our episodes. Go watch that video. It's ridiculous.
They also have a lot more faculty input, so they get, I wouldn't say like it's too strict because it is always super helpful advice that they give us. But as an indie production, we don't get like a food budget. We have to basically like find that ourselves or have our crew go get their own stuff. We have to make a case for every PD item we get, every production design item, and we are more limited in terms of camera package and the lighting package and the grip package. Like on a studio film, we get access to the Fisher 11 dolly, which is insane. And on our film, we used a Dana dolly, like a rail dolly with the skateboard wheels.
So the thing that interests me about that kind of mindset is the fact that like that kind of does become the two, once you're out of college or once you're moving towards the productions that you might want to do, that really does prepare you in a way, because you do have this dichotomy between I'll do what I want, but I need to find the money to do it, or I'll do what gets a lot of input from the people that are giving the money, and I have less control, but I get to do a little bit more ambitious of an idea. And I think that's really interesting that they're preparing you already for that. But on that note, I know that you guys are doing the whole bootstrap thing with the indie route, and that you guys are looking to get a little bit of help with that. So what are you guys doing?
Right now, we're trying to raise money with a GoFundMe campaign. Specifically, we're trying to get to festivals and pay pretty hefty song licensing fees, because it's the song that we use in the film, Where Is Love, is from the musical Oliver, and it's a pretty important song to me, and that's why I chose to use it. It's a song that my mother sang to me as a kid, and it's got really sentimental value, and I just love the way that the song works in the film. And so I am determined to get the licensing for that, but it is very expensive. And on top of that, we need to pay our composer, John Kaywood, who is an incredible composer. He's only recently gotten into film, but he's just amazing. He's taking great strides. He would probably be happy just doing it for experience, but I cannot go another day without paying this man, because he did my junior film as well for nothing, and I am so grateful to him. So it's mostly those things are what we need money for. Like, the film is basically done. We're almost done with post-production, and we just need a bit of money to submit to festivals and take the next step. Even though we are a student production, we're not really allowed to pay for locations ourselves or pay our cast. The crew is all students, so they're volunteering their time essentially, and it's a grade usually. We were fortunate enough to have some money to like buy lunch for everybody, of course.
Please feed your casting crew. That is so huge.
I was surprised when I first started making films at Ringling how enthusiastic the actors are to work for free just to have stuff for their reel. Incredibly talented. I'm so thankful for our cast and how much time they put in. Some of them are from, an hour or two away.
Oh, wow.
One guy in another film is from Daytona, so he's super far away.
Whoa.
He would make that drive every morning at like 6 or 7 a.m. and he would get there on time and do an amazing job, and he was just so happy to work with us, and it was super, super cool.
That's really amazing. Like, seriously. And it goes to show that like when people are passionate about something, they'll move, heaven and earth to do it.
Yeah, it's great, really.
Especially like this kind of thing. Like if you're doing an indie production, if you're trying to make something that's important, which I really legitimately think that your short film is really impactful, that people are excited to do it and they become that's its own motivation. Speaking of the talent, I'm curious what for you would be your directing style, how you felt it was the way that you could craft the story and help the actors achieve what you were envisioning as the director.
I think the most difficult part for me is explaining what's in my head, and I'm sure a lot of people can agree with that.
Yep.
There's an art form to having a very clear understanding of the beats and then getting your actor to be on the same page. And I tend to struggle with that. There was a moment where I was just like standing in front of the actor, just like lost and trying to explain how to sit up faster and then stop. I was very lucky to work with some very talented people for this one. We did pretty thorough casting, I'd say, and we got people who are both very good and also managed to look like a real family, which was super lucky, I think. But Jay, our main actor who played Franklin, is a very, I would say, emotional actor. He does a really good job at making you want to cry, and it's insane. He would usually just knock out a really good performance, and I would say, that's amazing, please do that again. And he would say, are you sure? And I'd be like, yeah, it was good. It was perfect. I mean, after, the first third of the first day, I think we had him dialed in, and he was channeling a similar place. And I think we were both sort of on the same page of how he should behave as someone with dementia, and I think he did a really good job with that.
That's great. And I mean, you're not wrong when he has that kind of emotion, like in his eyes alone. Like,
it hurts.
There's a lot of there's a lot of close-ups where they're just so good. You can tell that he's thinking, and you're based on what the whole Kuleshov effect kind of thing, that like you're trying to see what he's thinking based on just like everything that's transpiring around him, and like how you would be in that place, in the same place as somebody that's just trying to find out what's going on around them. And you realize that like for that same character, someone with dementia, that it really is no answer. There's no answer that you can come to that will make everything make sense when you're kind of doing this kind of time jump that he is. And it's really powerful. It's so good.
Yeah, he did a wonderful job.
Yeah, on that note, I am really excited, honestly really excited for you and this production, because I think it's really powerful. I really hope that it does well on the festival scene.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Dude, my pleasure. Are you kidding me? Like when you sent me, because we were talking, and like you sent me the rough, or I don't know how far along it is, but regardless, like it is so good.
Thank you.
When I was watching it, just seeing the fact that like it does not only convey, I mean, immediately it conveys the idea of dementia, but also the fact that like puts you in the place of it, and then does really interesting stuff, both with the cinematography as well as the blocking and everything, to then have you go on this journey with the character that doesn't feel like something that's really jarring. You feel like you're along the ride every step of the way, and I'm really psyched. Yeah, if you guys are watching, there is a GoFundMe for the short film right now to get it that last leg of the way there. From what I've seen so far, I don't think it needs much more help besides getting it out there. So I am really psyched. And again, thank you so much, Evan, for meeting up with me over the interwebs and trying to coordinate this whole thing.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Dude, my pleasure. And seriously, the kind of thing where we were like, what are we going to do on FrameForge this week? Well, I got a friend that made something pretty awesome. So
thank you, man.
Dude, my pleasure, seriously. And again, thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like or a dislike. If you don't like me talking with my friends and actually enjoying myself, I'll go back to what I've been doing before. So let me know how you feel. And again, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in other videos. Anything you want to say, Evan, before we sign off?
Stay safe out there. Please, it's a scary time. There's a lot going on. Stay home. I'm begging you.
Sound advice. So I will see you later, and have a good day or night. I'm filming this at night. Whenever, wherever, whatever time you are, have a good. Later.